something happened to your soulmate last night. And now they've made a shocking decision about you. My beloved child, something changed last night, and your soulmate has not been able to look at you the same way since. It was not one ordinary thought, one passing memory, or one small emotional moment. Something became unmistakably clear to them. In the quiet, when there was nobody around to influence what they felt, your name returned to their mind with a force they could no longer dismiss. They remembered the moments when you understood them without needing an explanation. They remembered the distance, the unanswered questions, and everything they had been trying to push aside. And then came the realization that changed the entire direction of their thoughts. Losing your place in their life would affect them far more deeply than they had admitted. Don't skip, because what happened next is the reason they have now made a shocking decision about you. Until last night, they believed they still had time. Time to think. Time to wait. Time to understand their own heart. But suddenly, waiting no longer felt comfortable. Something inside them shifted from uncertainty into clarity, and once that happened, they could not return to the way they were thinking before. What makes this so surprising is that their decision was not made because someone convinced them. It came from a realization they reached completely on their own. They began looking back at everything between you differently, the conversations, the silence, the moments that seemed small at the time but now carry a completely different meaning. And one question kept returning: what if this connection is more important than I allowed myself to believe? That question opened something inside them. They started imagining what would happen if they continued doing nothing, and that possibility suddenly felt heavier than taking a chance. Stay till the end, because the biggest revelation is still ahead. Your soulmate has been hiding one truth even from themselves: they never became as emotionally distant from you as they tried to appear. Every time they attempted to move their attention elsewhere, something reminded them of you. Every time they convinced themselves that the connection could simply fade, another memory returned. Last night, all those scattered feelings finally came together, and the conclusion surprised even them. They realized they do not want another chapter of their life to begin while something important between you remains unfinished, and this is where their shocking decision begins. They have decided that silence cannot continue forever. They want clarity. They want to stop wondering what could happen and finally understand what this connection truly means. But there is another layer to their decision, one they have not revealed yet. Before they make their next move, they are thinking carefully about one specific thing concerning you, because they know that once they cross this line, the relationship between you may never feel exactly the same again. Something huge is waiting for you, because what happened last night did more than bring back their feelings. It forced them to choose between remaining comfortable and finally being honest with themselves. And for the first time, they are leaning toward the choice you may have stopped expecting. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Their next realization explains why they waited this long, what finally changed inside them, and why the decision they have made about you could become the turning point neither of you saw coming. There is one detail about last night that changes the meaning of everything, and your soulmate cannot push it out of their mind. For a long time, they believed staying quiet would make their feelings easier to understand. They thought distance would eventually give them an answer. Instead, last night brought them a realization they were completely unprepared for. The more they tried to ignore what they felt about you, the clearer those feelings became. A memory of you returned unexpectedly, but this time they did not brush it aside. They stayed with it. They remembered your presence, your energy, the way certain conversations with you felt different from conversations with everyone else. And suddenly they understood something that surprised them deeply. They had been measuring other connections against what they experienced with you. That realization stopped them emotionally. Don't skip, because this is where their shocking decision starts becoming clear. They asked themselves one simple question: if I keep waiting, what exactly am I waiting for? And for the first time, they had no convincing answer. The excuses that once seemed reasonable suddenly felt empty. The hesitation that kept them silent began losing its power. Something had shifted, and they knew they could not simply wake up and pretend everything was unchanged, but here is what they still have not said aloud. Their decision is not merely to think about you more, it is to stop running from the possibility of discovering where this connection could actually go. That is a much bigger step than it sounds, because your soulmate has spent so much time protecting what they feel that honesty now feels like crossing an invisible line. Stay till the end, because another revelation is coming. Last night, they imagined two different futures. In one, they continued saying nothing, continued wondering, continued carrying unanswered questions. In the other, they finally allowed themselves to move toward clarity. And something about that second possibility felt completely different. It felt lighter. It felt real. For perhaps the first time, they realized that uncertainty was becoming harder than truth. They are beginning to understand that some connections cannot be solved by endless thinking. Eventually, someone has to make a move. And what makes this moment so powerful is that they are no longer automatically expecting that person to be you. Now their attention has turned toward what happens next. They are considering how to approach you without making the moment feel forced, because what they want to express carries more meaning than a casual conversation could hold. Something huge is waiting for you. There is a sentence forming in their mind, something they have wanted to express but repeatedly stopped themselves from saying. And once that sentence is finally spoken, you may understand why their behavior has seemed so confusing. Their shocking decision is becoming more specific. They want to replace uncertainty with an answer, distance with understanding, and all those unfinished thoughts with something real enough to finally be acknowledged. Don't skip. The most surprising part is that they are not only thinking about what they want from you. They are thinking about what they are finally ready to give. Stay till the end, because the next piece reveals what they have been holding back all this time, and why last night may have been the exact moment they decided they could not keep hiding it forever. What your soulmate realized next was even more surprising, because suddenly the entire story between you began to look different in their mind. They started remembering moments they once considered ordinary, only to realize those moments had stayed with them for a reason. A certain conversation. A certain look. A moment when you understood something they never fully explained. Even the silence between you began carrying a different meaning. And then came the thought they could no longer escape: what if I have been protecting myself from the very connection I actually wanted? Don't skip, because this question changed the direction of their decision. Until now, they had been focusing on every reason to wait, every uncertainty, every possibility that made them hesitate. But last night, their attention shifted towards something completely different, everything they could lose by remaining silent. Suddenly, doing nothing no longer felt like the safest choice. It felt like the choice that could leave the biggest unanswered question behind. And that realization reached them more deeply than they expected. Then another truth surfaced, and this one surprised them even more. They realized they had been waiting for a perfect moment that might never arrive. A perfect conversation. A perfect sign. A perfect certainty that would remove every doubt before they took one step forward. But meaningful connections rarely arrive with perfect instructions. Sometimes clarity appears only after someone finally chooses to be genuine. Stay till the end, because your soulmate is beginning to understand exactly that. Their shocking decision is no longer just an emotional thought from one unusual night. They are mentally preparing themselves to behave differently. Instead of hiding behind uncertainty, they want to discover what is actually possible between you. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime realization they reached. Maybe the reason they could never completely close this chapter is because, somewhere inside them, they never truly wanted it closed. They wanted another page. Another opportunity. Another moment where the truth could finally replace all the guessing. Something huge is waiting for you, because their next realization takes this beyond memories and directly toward action. Your soulmate is now thinking about you differently, not as someone they can simply leave in the background of their thoughts, but as someone connected to a decision they know they cannot postpone forever. They are wondering what you would say if they finally became completely sincere. They are imagining your reaction if they admitted how often they reconsidered everything, and beneath all those questions is one powerful truth. They want to know whether the connection you shared still has somewhere to go. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because there is still one thing holding them back, and it is not a lack of feeling. It is the realization that once they finally reveal what has been sitting inside their heart, they cannot take those words back. That is why their next move matters so much. Last night gave them clarity, but what happens next will reveal whether they are ready to turn that clarity into something real. And the decision forming inside them now could become the moment that changes everything between you. And now the story reaches the moment your soulmate never expected to face, because the final thing holding them back is beginning to disappear. Last night, after everything became quiet, they stopped asking whether they still felt something for you and started asking a much bigger question: what am I going to do about it? That question changed everything. Feelings could remain hidden, memories could remain private, and unanswered thoughts could continue for months, but a decision demands movement. Don't skip, because this is where their inner conversation became completely different. They imagined finally standing before you without the usual hesitation, without pretending the connection meant less than it actually did. They imagined telling you that there were moments when they wanted to reach toward you but stopped themselves. They imagined admitting that the distance never gave them the peace they expected. And then something surprising happened inside them. Instead of feeling the familiar urge to retreat, they felt ready to know the truth. Whatever clarity might bring, they realized it could be better than endlessly wondering what might have happened if they had simply been sincere. But there is an even bigger revelation behind their decision. Your soulmate has started understanding that their next move cannot be built only around what they hope to receive from you. They are thinking about what they can bring into this connection differently: more openness, more consistency, more honesty, and fewer unanswered questions. Stay till the end, because that change in perspective is important. Until now, much of their hesitation came from wondering how you might respond. Last night, however, they realized they cannot control your response. they can only control whether they finally show up truthfully. That realization gave them a kind of courage they did not have before. Something huge is waiting for you, because they are no longer imagining one dramatic moment and then disappearing back into uncertainty. They are thinking beyond that first conversation. They are imagining what could happen afterward if both of you finally understood where you stood. And for someone who spent so long avoiding that possibility, simply allowing themselves to imagine a real next chapter is a massive emotional shift. Now comes the part that could explain everything that seemed confusing before. Your soulmate may have appeared uncertain because they were trying to make a permanent decision while carrying temporary doubts. Last night, they finally separated the two. The doubts were still there, but underneath them was something much stronger. They did not want to walk away without discovering whether this connection had another chance to become something meaningful. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Their shocking decision is moving closer to action, but before they make that move, there is one final realization they need to confront. They have to admit why you remained unforgettable even when they tried to focus elsewhere. And the answer forming inside them is far bigger than simple nostalgia. It has something to do with how they felt when they were truly understood, how naturally certain moments with you stayed in their memory, and why imagining a future without ever resolving this connection suddenly feels incomplete. Something huge is waiting for you, because once they understand that final truth, the question will no longer be whether they should do something. The question will become how soon they are ready to finally do it. The final truth they tried to avoid has now become impossible to overlook. You were never just another memory to them. Last night made that unmistakably clear. When your soulmate looked back at everything, they noticed something extraordinary. Time had changed many things around them, yet certain moments connected to you still carried the same emotional weight. Your words stayed with them. Your presence stayed recognizable in their mind. Even things they thought they had forgotten suddenly returned with surprising clarity. Don't skip, because this is where their shocking decision becomes deeper than anyone would expect. They realized they were not holding on to you because they were trapped in yesterday, they were holding on to the unanswered possibility of tomorrow. There was still something they wanted to understand, something they wanted to express, something they never allowed to reach its natural conclusion. And suddenly they knew why moving forward had never completely erased the question of you. Deep inside, they had left a door open, not because they knew what would happen, but because some part of them always wondered whether your story had truly reached its final page. Then came the realization that completely changed their perspective. Your soulmate understood that they had spent so much time trying to predict your reaction that they had forgotten something important. Sincerity does not require knowing the outcome beforehand. They do not need every answer before taking one honest step. Stay till the end, because this is the moment their hesitation begins turning into intention. They are thinking about approaching you in a way that feels genuine rather than perfect. No performance. No complicated plan. Just a moment where what has remained unsaid can finally become clear. And here is the surprising part, they are not expecting everything to transform instantly. Their decision is stronger than that. They want to create an opening where both of you can finally understand what has been happening beneath the surface. Something huge is waiting for you, because last night they stopped thinking only about whether you might still care. They started thinking about whether they are finally ready to show you that they care. That difference may seem small, but for them it changes everything. And now another unexpected thought has entered their mind. What if you have also been waiting for clarity while believing they had already made their choice? That possibility shook them, because suddenly they saw how silence could have created an entirely different story in your mind. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that you may never have known the full truth behind their distance, their hesitation, or the moments when they seem difficult to understand. And this is exactly why their next move feels so important. They no longer want assumptions speaking for them. They want their own actions to reveal what silence could not. The shocking decision made after last night is moving toward its most powerful stage. They are preparing to replace uncertainty with something unmistakably real. But one revelation still remains, and it could be the biggest one yet. Before they move forward, they are asking themselves what they truly want if you give them the opportunity to speak openly. The answer appearing inside them is not small, temporary, or casual. It points toward a completely different future than the one they had been preparing themselves to accept. Something huge is waiting for you, because their answer to that question is about to reveal what they actually hope happens between you next. What they finally admitted to themselves changed the entire meaning of last night. Your soulmate does not simply want one conversation with you, they want to know whether the two of you can create something different from everything that came before. That realization surprised them because they had expected their feelings to lead toward closure, but instead those feelings pointed toward possibility. They imagined speaking with you honestly, hearing what has been sitting inside your heart, and finally removing the uncertainty that has surrounded this connection. Then another thought arrived that they could not ignore. What if the next chapter could be better because we finally understand what went wrong before? Don't skip, because this is where their shocking decision becomes something much bigger than remembering you. Your soulmate has started thinking about a fresh beginning, not pretending the past never happened, but understanding it and moving differently because of it. They know that words alone cannot create that change. They know consistency matters. They know genuine effort matters. And for perhaps the first time, they are asking themselves whether they are prepared to demonstrate what they feel rather than simply carrying those feelings silently. Their answer is becoming clearer by the minute, but something else happened inside them that they never expected. The more they imagined being honest with you, the less frightening honesty became. What once felt impossible suddenly started feeling necessary. Stay till the end, because this realization reveals why last night was such a powerful turning point. Your soulmate understood that they had been treating uncertainty like protection, when uncertainty was actually keeping them stuck. They could continue wondering about you from a distance, or they could finally discover what is real. And now they are leaning toward truth. Something huge is waiting for you. They have begun mentally rehearsing what they would say if the opportunity appeared. Not some perfect speech. Not something designed to impress you. Just the truth they should have expressed much earlier, that you mattered more than their silence suggested, that the connection stayed with them longer than they expected, and that something inside them kept returning to the possibility of you. The surprising part is not simply that these thoughts exist. It is that they are finally considering allowing you to know they exist. And there is one final shift taking place that could determine everything that happens next. Your soulmate is no longer asking, "What if this goes differently than I hope?" Now they are asking, "What if I never try and always wonder?" That single change has transformed their decision. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Because once someone becomes more afraid of an unanswered possibility than an honest conversation, silence starts losing its hold. Your soulmate is reaching that point now. They are thinking about the moment when they finally stop hiding behind timing, distance, and uncertainty. They are thinking about showing you a side of themselves you may have believed you would never see. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime revelation: last night may not have given them every answer, but it gave them the one answer they needed most. They do not want to leave this connection unresolved. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next stage is no longer about what they realized. It is about what they are preparing to do with that realization. And the move taking shape in their mind could finally reveal whether everything that happened between you was an ending, or the beginning of something neither of you expected. Something completely unexpected is happening inside your soulmate now. The decision that began quietly last night is becoming too powerful for them to keep treating it like another passing thought. They have reached the point where imagining a conversation with you no longer feels impossible. It feels necessary. And there is one reason for that. They suddenly understand that the biggest thing standing between you may never have been the absence of feeling, it may have been the absence of clarity. Don't skip, because this changes everything. Your soulmate is looking back and recognizing how many moments could have been misunderstood because neither side knew the complete story. Things left unsaid became assumptions. Distance created questions. Silence created conclusions that may never have been true. And last night, they finally saw the pattern. They realized that if they continue doing exactly what they have always done, they will keep receiving exactly what they have always received: uncertainty. But if they change one thing, if they finally become honest, then everything could move in a direction neither of you expected. Stay till the end, because they have now made another decision inside the original decision. When the opportunity appears, they do not want to hide behind vague words anymore. They want you to understand what they actually mean. The surprising part is what they want you to understand first. It is not simply that they remembered you. It is not simply that they missed certain moments. Their deeper realization is that your connection affected the way they understand closeness itself. There was something about being understood by you that stayed in their memory, and last night they finally stopped pretending that meant nothing. Something huge is waiting for you, because this realization has changed what they hope their next move accomplishes. They are not looking for one temporary emotional moment. They want an answer to the question that has quietly followed them: could we create something meaningful if we finally stopped letting uncertainty decide for us? That question is now louder than their hesitation. And here is what makes their decision so shocking: they are beginning to accept that the answer might require them to become vulnerable in a way they avoided before. They may have to admit they were confused. They may have to acknowledge that their silence did not represent everything happening inside them. Most importantly, they may have to tell you that walking away without understanding this connection is no longer what they want. Now everything comes down to one moment. Your soulmate knows there is a difference between deciding something privately and turning that decision into reality, and they are standing directly between those two stages. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Because the thought dominating their mind now is incredibly simple: when the moment comes, will I finally say it? And each time they ask themselves that question, their answer becomes stronger. Last night removed one layer of hesitation. Remembering everything removed another. Imagining a future where you never knew the truth removed another. Now there is very little left between what they feel and what they are considering revealing. Something huge is waiting for you. The decision is no longer about whether you matter. In their mind, that question has already been answered. The real decision is whether they are ready to show you just how much this connection has continued to matter, and everything happening inside them suggests they are closer than ever before. But there is still one